After 2 decades of deadly conflict, the US has left Afghanistan. The Taliban once again in control of the airport as well as the country. Half an hour ago, the final American plane flew out of Kabul.
I'm here to announce the completion of our withdrawal from Afghanistan and the end of the military mission to evacuate American citizens, third country nationals, and vulnerable Afghans.
The children left behind in the chaos of Thursday's blast, which killed Mohammed's dad. His mum was brought to the UK alone. Also tonight, a major search and rescue effort gets underway in the United States after one of the most powerful storms ever to make landfall. And Paralympics GB on target in Tokyo with 3 more golds, but Johnny Peacock just misses out.
This is ITV News with Duncan Golestani.
Good evening. In the last half an hour, the head of United States Central Command has confirmed that the US has completed its withdrawal from Afghanistan, ending the evacuation effort and ending 20 years of American operations in the country. Almost as soon as midnight passed in Kabul, to reach the deadline day President Biden outlined and the Taliban agreed, the last C-17 transport plane was wheels up. The Taliban are now in complete control of Kabul airport, and Afghanistan's fate is in their hands. We'll have the latest from Washington in a moment, but first from Doha, our global security editor Rohit Khatri reports.
This evening, a new video released by the Taliban claimed they were about to take control of Kabul's airport. Then, moments ago, the final American aircraft took off. After 20 years, the US operation in Afghanistan is complete. Its longest war is over.
I'm here to announce the completion of our withdrawal from Afghanistan and the end of the military mission to evacuate American citizens, third country nationals, and vulnerable Afghans.
When the US government said yesterday that an attack in Kabul was highly likely, this is what they meant. Here, the smoke cleared to reveal a homemade rocket launcher where the passenger seats should have been. The Americans believe this was intended to be one of several ISIS assaults during the hours before they left, and rockets have been fired through the day. But when the US sent a drone to kill what it believed was a terrorist target, 10 members of one family were also reportedly killed. Several were children.
We're investigating this. I'm not going to get ahead of it. But if we have, verifiable information that we did in fact take innocent life here, then we'll be transparent about that too.
The final hours, the final flights, the final flares sent to combat an enemy which will still be here once the C-17s are not. Combating ISIS will become the job of the Taliban, and governments like the UK's are still working out how to deal with it, seeking assurances about safe passage for those trying to escape, but they're sceptical.
We are not being naive about this. We are basing our decisions with regard to engagement with the Taliban on their actions rather than on their words. But if the Taliban want to be treated like a government, they have to start acting like a government. And that means releasing the people who have the documents to allow them out of the country.
Here in Doha, some of the most powerful countries in the region and in the world are meeting to work out a route towards recognition of a Taliban government. There are signs of tension, for example, between the US and Russia about what needs to be done. But there is consensus that something needs to be done. It is Tuesday in Afghanistan. The deadline set for US withdrawal has been met. But the chaos, the bloodshed, the fear, the turmoil are not over yet. Rohit Khatri, ITV News, Doha.
I'm joined now by our US correspondent, Emma Murphy. Emma, a massive moment. What have we been told about that final pullout?
Well, a huge moment here in the United States. We are now told all US military personnel are out of Afghanistan. There will be much discussion in the coming days about the rights and wrongs of the past 20 years, much discussion about the rights and wrongs of the final pullout. But what is perhaps incontrovertible are the figures. Just think about how many were lost in those 20 years. 2,641 American service personnel, 13 in the last week, 457 British personnel, 69,000 members of the Afghan security forces, 51,000 civilians, all killed, many, many hundreds of thousands more injured. It was Harry Truman who said that the hour of the end of the war is one of solemnity and glory. Well, I have to say there is a lot of solemnity here now, but not an awful lot of glory. When this war began, the Taliban were in power. As America leaves Afghanistan tonight, the Taliban will take power again.
Emma Murphy in Washington, thank you. Although relative safety seems assured for those who made it on board the final evacuation flights, some families have been painfully torn apart in the crush and the crowds. The relatives of one young mother tell us she was separated from her family, including her 2 young children, outside Kabul airport. They say only once she got to England was she told her husband and father had been killed in Thursday's bomb attack. Her 1-year-old son was injured and is in hospital in Kabul. She is now desperate to find a way to bring both her children to safety. A Warning Dan Rivers report starts with some upsetting pictures.
He is just clinging to life and now in need of expert medical care. Mohammed Reza's tiny body was peppered with shrapnel during last Thursday's bomb attack at Kabul airport, which killed his father and grandfather and resulted in him being separated from his mother, who is now here. Today, her brothers appealed for help to get Mohammed urgently brought to the UK.
The condition is really critical and he's injured because he got bullets in the stomach and he's not feeling well.
And doctors say he's in a coma for 5 days.
The terrorist atrocity left 170 people dead, among them little Mohammed's father, Miraj, and his grandfather, Sultan, who was a British citizen and worked as a taxi driver. In the chaotic aftermath of the blast, the family claim Mohammed's mother, Bas Bibi, was separated from her little boy and her 5-month-old baby girl, Kalsoom. The baby girl was mercifully unhurt, but her mother hasn't been able to breastfeed her since they were separated on Thursday. The family says Bas Bibi only learnt what had happened on landing in the UK and remains too upset to talk.
It's really hard because she lost his husband and dad. The kid is really small and got a bullet on the stomach, so it's really hard. It's painful. Maybe he don't really afford the pain. So that's why we want him to be here to have good treatment and save him.
But with evacuation flights suspended, it's not clear how this little boy can be reunited with his mother unless the Taliban grant him safe passage. Dan Rivers, ITV News.
Away from Afghanistan, President Biden says a major search and rescue effort is underway in his own country after Louisiana and Mississippi were hit by one of the most powerful storms ever to make landfall. Hurricane Ida brought winds of up to 150 miles per hour and pushed floodwaters far inland. Up to 1 million people have been left without power. 2 people are confirmed dead, but authorities warn they expect that number to rise. Martha Fairley reports.
The warnings had been dire.
Look out!
Hurricane Ida, a Category 4 storm with the power to do great harm.
Oh my God! Yo!
She certainly took her toll. Flooding across large parts of Louisiana has left those who stayed in their homes trapped in them. Today, the president was briefed on the crisis.
We've already begun search and rescue efforts, and we get folks who out there who need assistance, and we're doing the best we can.
Many others will have little to return to that can be salvaged. Those who chase storms and people who simply want to see what the toll is are now a worry for authorities.
Almost there, almost to the eye! Barely see! We're almost there! Walk forward to the eye! Whoa!
So this is the time to continue to remain in your safe places. Not a time to venture out throughout our city at all. It's unsafe.
Among those who died, a motorist who drowned in New Orleans and a person hit by a falling tree outside Baton Rouge. The winds have also left up to 1 million people without power. New Orleans was left in almost complete darkness, with warnings that it could take weeks for the grid to be restored.
So this massive roof, lift off.
A lack of communication with people across the state has led to fears that the death toll could rise. 16 years ago, Hurricane Katrina did dreadful harm. There had been fears of a similar catastrophe, but it seems nature has been kinder this time. Martha Fairley, ITV News.
Bank robbers armed with explosives and rifles have raided several banks in a Brazilian city, tying hostages to their cars to use them as human shields. The raids took place in Aracatuba this morning, where the robbers strapped innocent members of the public on the roofs of vehicles as they made their getaway. 2 civilians were killed, but the majority of the hostages were released unharmed. They reportedly used a drone to monitor the movements of police who were struggling to respond. And finally, Paralympics GB are celebrating another golden day in Tokyo. They secured 8 more medals, including 3 golds. Lee Pearson brought his incredible tally of Paralympic titles to 14, with victory in the freestyle dressage event. Sprinter Johnny Peacock, who missed out on a gold at his 3rd successive games, had to make do with joint bronze this time around. Jonathan Brown has all the action.
Like many athletes here, Andrew Small was inspired by the London 2012 Paralympics. And a flying start in the men's T33 100 metres final gave him the advantage over the defending champion. Phoebe Patterson-Pine, a former swimmer, first tried para-archery while on holiday in 2012. Today, she shot to the top, admitting she managed to keep her nerve but lost track of the score.
I didn't know that I needed that final 8 to score to win. So I shot it, heard that I had won, and was sort of like, oh, that's great, okay.
But it wasn't a golden day for Johnny Peacock, defending his men's T64 100 metres title. With barely anything between the top 4, after a photo finish, he was eventually placed joint 3rd. And over in the equestrian park, the medals kept flowing. Sir Lee Pearson's Grade 2 individual freestyle led to his 3rd gold in Tokyo, the 14th Paralympic gold of his career. Jonathan Brown, ITV News.
And that is it for now. From all of us here, thank you for watching and good night.